Hey, what's going on, guys? This is going to be my out-of-box review for the HGUC Premium Bandai Regelgu. So this is the 00 version of the Regelgu, but if you've never seen that, you may have seen this appear very briefly in kind of Unicorn as well. I can't remember exactly which episode, but it flies toward the screen for about a half a second and then immediately gets blown up, unfortunately. But it's such a really cool design. I love the big, huge shoulders of that. It's really just crazy over the top and stupid, but it looks so cool, and it's got a really cool new backpack on there as well. I really like that. It's very MSV styled, and overall just a really cool variation of an already really cool suit. I mean, who doesn't love the Gelgoog? It's awesome. The HG, admittedly not nearly as nice as the Master Grade 2.0, which is just an absolutely fantastic kit, so it really would have been nice if this was a variation to the Master Grade 2.0. Hopefully, maybe someday that'll happen. My fingers are crossed. We did get the OOB Lightning's custom variation of the Gelgoog, the high mobility type, out not too long ago. Hopefully, they'll do more variations of the Master Grade 2.0 in the future, but in the meantime, we do have this one, and yeah, it looks really cool. It does look nice. I mean, despite the HG being pretty old, that it's based off of anyway, and being pretty lacking in detail for the most part, and not really the best kit overall, it still holds up pretty well, I think, and the new parts do match with the original kit that it's based off of as well. I think it doesn't look like kind of strange. If they made the new parts like super detailed, it wouldn't really match too well with the base kit, but I think it does all match up pretty well, and it ends up making for a pretty cool kit. So as always, guys, huge thank you to Isa Gundam Store for sponsoring this review. Do check the link to their site in the description below, and the coupon code is there as well. Use that coupon code ZakuAurelius10 to save 10%. If you're looking for P-Bandai stuff, you can get that on their site, so check it out. Alright, let's see what you'll get included with this kit. Okay, so for hand options, you can see on the kit there, it's just got a set of regular holding hands. We do also have, for the left hand only, an open hand like so, which is pretty nice, quite large as well, I will say, and pretty nicely detailed, so that's pretty cool. Then for the right hand, we have a trigger finger, which I have now just already attached on here to the new beam rifle. So this kit does have a new beam rifle included with it as well, and does have a little sticker there for the camera. And it's pretty cool looking. It's pretty nice, pretty different from the regular Gelgoog beam rifle, which is also included. You have the regular beam rifle here as well. No sticker or anything for that, but that's just there if you want to use that, or just give that to a different kit. Keep it for an extra kit for a kit bash or whatever. So it's cool that you at least have that option. And then we have the two beam saber effect parts. These are 1/100 scale, so they'll be pretty large, clear yellow beam saber effect parts. The beam sabers themselves are stored here on the backpack. You can just pull those out like that. There's two of them, so these can just be used separately, or you can connect them together, very similar to like the Strike Freedom Gundam or something. And then you have an extra long double-ended beam saber. It's quite long indeed. And that's it for the weapons and accessories, really. The only other thing is that we do have a few other leftover parts worth mentioning. You have the original Gelgoog's just shoulder armor if you want to use that for a different kit, again, for kit bashing, or if you want to do maybe like half and half, one big and one small. Something you've got both of those, and then you also have both of the original forearm parts as well. If you, for whatever reason, just prefer the original forearms, you can use those instead. Alright, so then let's talk a little bit about the articulation. First off, the stickers, I guess. There is a blue sticker here for the cockpit hatch, a sticker there for the mono eye. It's just all black with the eye in the center there, and that just goes there for the visor. And then back around here on the backpack, there's a camera sticker here on the backpack as well, and then what we saw on the beam rifle, and that's it. So very minimal in terms of the stickers. Let's talk about the articulation. The head is not really well articulated. It will go up to about there and down to there, and that's about the limit of that. Not too much side to side here as well. Oh, one other thing I should mention is you do also have the original antenna if you want. It's smaller and not as interesting, I think. The new antenna is much more interesting. You can see mine's a little bit sanded because it does have a safety flag on there, which I removed. The shoulder joint is actually quite nice considering the age of the kit. It does pull out to the front all the way to there. The only thing that I'm noticing about it is, for some reason, if I want to have it like set a little bit back, it doesn't want to stay there. It keeps popping forward like that. It's not just due to gravity, even like in this way, it keeps popping forward a little bit. So I can't have like the shoulders set a little bit backwards like that. I'm not really sure why, but I'll have to maybe try to sort that out later. Also, concerning the seam line on the shoulder, it's not right down the middle of the shoulder armor, which is nice. It runs along the edge here, so it's kind of a little bit hidden, except for here at the end. I don't know how well you can see that, but the seam line kind of like cuts across the middle of that angled part there. And it looks a bit odd, but up underneath the shoulder is some really nice detail there with the thruster bells, and then even under there, there's some nice details inside that. all looking pretty nice. You can bring the shoulder armor up to about there, and then bring the arm itself also up pretty high. Again, for a high grade of this age, that's pretty good. And then just rotation there at the top of the arm, and just a single joint in the elbow. That's not very good. Unfortunately, only going to get about 90 degrees there, but still not too bad. And no seam line there, as the seam line is disguised just as a panel line, so that works well. The wrist is just on a ball joint. Then here on the forearms, we have the new grenade launchers on here, though it just has a little door on the front, which will open up. It just opens up like that. There you go. And then you've got your grenade launcher on the forearm. Now, it's kind of interesting how these are asymmetrical. It has this kind of connection part there on this side, but on the inside there's nothing there, so it's kind of weird, but that just connects onto there like that. And you've got that on the left and on the right side there as well. Here in the stomach section, again, quite good for its age. The stomach crunch forward is pretty good, and back like that. Also got some nice side to side there, all pretty good. Rotation, of course, no problems with that. While the kit in general isn't really super detailed, all this vent detailing around here, the torso section, and just the top of the skirt armor is all pretty nice. Speaking of the skirt armor, as restrictive as it may appear, it actually gets out of the way pretty nicely for you to be able to bring the leg up plenty far forward and not have really any problems with that. And as you can see, that double joint there at the knee will give you a pretty nice knee bend as well. The back skirt, of course, nothing will move on that. It's just fixed, but again, up underneath there, some nice detail with the thruster bells. While we're here, up underneath the back of the legs, some nice detail with the thruster bells up inside there, and even underneath the feet too as well. Very nicely detailed. It all looks quite nice. In the ankles, you have a pretty decent side-to-side bend there for getting a pretty wide stance, wide enough, I'd imagine. And then forward, not really too much. Back, a little bit better, not too bad. So the ankles are pretty nice. Just going real quick back up to the backpack. Nothing really moves or is articulated on this, but there is a missile pod here, and the door opens up, and the missiles are there. Now, the door is not on any sort of hinge at all. So basically, you just take this off, and you just put it back on, just like barely connected onto there, so that it looks like it's open. And it holds on well enough like that, but if you knock it at all, it's going to fall off there pretty easily. It's not actually connected other than just by friction. So it kind of would have been nice if they would have made that an actual hinge there for that door of the missile pod. But either way, still a pretty nice detail to be included with that. And on a real quick note about connecting this onto an action base, you won't be able to use this 3mm peg. You'll have to use this part here, which is this kind of like flat square part, which will connect up underneath the waist section after you remove that part there. Alright, so what are the negatives of the kit? Now, obviously, the fact that it's a P-Bandai kit is going to make it a little bit more expensive, a little bit harder to get. And especially when you start getting up to having to pay $40, $50 or more for a high-grade kit, especially one that's based off of a pretty old high-grade kit, a lot of people are understandably a little bit hesitant about that. Now, basically, what it comes down to a lot of times for me is if it's just a design that I really like, and, I think, like, well, okay, this is basically what Bandai has decided to give us, so this is what we get. What are the other options? Scratch building new parts by yourself, that's a lot of hours of work, versus paying, whatever extra you're going to pay for the kit, which, granted, is a lot, but compared to the amount of hours of work of having to scratch build that yourself. Or, of course, you could also kit bash it with the older 80s kit version of this in 1/44 scale, which is pretty bunk. I have that, and that was actually my plan before this kit was announced, but that will be some sort of future project. But I can tell you that that will be also a bit of a chore. Also, there's resin conversion kits, which I do also have one of those as well for this, and that will also be a bit of a chore. I think if you're comparing hours and hours and hours, probably, days, weeks worth of work versus just paying $20, $30, even $40 extra for just the kit straight up, I really don't think it's all that bad. That said, other negatives of the kit, as you could see, there was a few points where the articulation is a little bit lacking, but overall it's really not that bad at all. Again, considering the age of the original HGUC Gelgoog, I think the articulation of this kit is actually really quite nice for the most part. Just doing some nice poses with this is really not a problem at all. As far as the seam lines, that's another problem with the HGs in general, and especially older HGs. Also, not really that big of a problem on this kit. Most of the seam lines are pretty well hidden, either as panel lines or just kind of like blended into the design, and not really all that bad. So as far as any work they'll have to do for removing seam lines in this kit, also going to be pretty minimal, so that's also nice. As far as missing color apps, as you can see, there were a couple of stickers, also very minimal for that as well. It depends if you wanted to keep the original color scheme. Obviously for me, as I mentioned in the unboxing, I don't prefer this color scheme. This is the original Double Zeta color scheme. I would either prefer just like the sleeves color scheme from Unicorn, or just something else entirely, something MSV style color scheme for it. But yeah, in terms of missing color apps, there's probably a couple tiny little bits here and there, but really not that bad either. In terms of just the colors that it comes molded in, straight out of the box, it's also pretty nice. So in conclusion, I am really happy with this kit. Again, it's a design that I really like, so I'm a little bit biased in that I just am so glad to actually have this kit finally come out. But all bias aside, it is a really solid high-grade kit. And I keep bringing this up, and I feel like I really don't need to keep saying this, but the HGUC Gelgoog is a little bit of an older kit, but I really want to just push the point that I think this holds up very well in just modern standards. It's not nearly as detailed as the kind of high grades that we're getting out now in modern times, but aside from the details, just the articulation and everything of the kit is very solid. So I think it's a really solid, nice kit. The new parts for this kit are really nice. The new rifle, the new shoulder parts, the new backpack especially, and a few other bits and bobs here and everywhere else on the kit. So very happy with this. I wonder if Bandai is going to make a unicorn colored version of this, possibly, although I would guess probably not, just because I'm really surprised that this even got made at all. And so they're probably just going to stick with just this one and just let people paint it if they really want to. But I don't know. We could be surprised. If you missed pre-ordering this and getting this upon its original release, hopefully they might rerun it in the future. But again, I also kind of doubt that. So you probably will just be forced to trying to locate one now if you haven't got one already and you do want to get one. So hopefully you guys can find one for a decent price, because it's definitely worth picking up if you can. So if you guys do have any other further questions and comments, feel free to leave that down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to USA Gundam Store again for sponsoring the review, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Hey! Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you want to check the kit out for yourself, you can head over to USA Gundam Store. Use that coupon code ZakuAurelius10. Save yourself 10%. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.